We're in.
We're in. Good morning.
Morning. Nice to drop in, eh?
Man, I just, as we were walking around, right, like just feeling the energy of the space, I think that's just a beautiful way to start a morning, is to just ground, be outside, take in the sights that is, this environment. I mean, what better way to just settle your nervous system, be present, like, man, yeah.
Well, we talk about it, right? People talk about it. Health experts talk about it. But then when you actually get to do it, it's nice. It's a nice reminder of just how simple life can be.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what, and we're obviously going to talk about that throughout the whole podcast. You explained that when we were on stage at the panel, how simplistic we can make things and how successful we can be with those simplicities of life. But we tend to make things so complicated.
We absolutely do.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
I didn't realize that we're neighbors.
Yes.
But how cool is that?
Yes. This has been home for me. It's my childhood. That's another kind of thing that speaks to me, is just the environment, right? It's so very familiar to me, and something that speaks, I think, to me at like a soul level, right?
Yeah.
Like growing up here and in this type of environment, it's that little boy, right, that turns on when he gets his feet in nature and goes, oh, right, we're home.
Yeah.
We're home.
So for those that don't know, we are in Caledon, Ontario, which is just about 45 minutes, even less than that, northwest of Toronto, right?
Yes.
And it's a pocket.
It's a special place, man. I mean, the forks of the Credit, you think just energetically where this water converges onto a spot, right? You have large tributaries of water that all connect and feed a land, and you're literally in this kind of vortex of where these huge sources of water all meet each other and then turn into the Credit River and just the life that exists there.
Yeah.
It's just energetically, it's a very cool.
I haven't thought about it on that capacity, and I haven't really looked at it geographically on where the bodies of water are merging and meeting and all that.
You are not 2 minutes away from the convergence of the headwaters of the forks of the Credit.
Cool.
And just the amount of it was really interesting. I was on a hike once, just here on the Bruce Trail, and I met an Indigenous woman that does a water walk.
Oh.
And it is her gift or her calling in her Indigenous practice to walk the Bruce Trail. And I learned, and she carries some different ceremonial tools and things like that. And her job is to kind of speak to and move with the water in the ground, because this is a sacred space. This is a sacred place where the headwaters of the forks of the Credit, and just the amount of energetic power that comes through here, through the flow of water and the flow of life that begins here. And so it's her. She walks it every single year, this section, and does various ceremonies through the land, and that is her kind of Indigenous calling.
Does she do it with people or by herself?
It was a small group. There was like 3 or 4 people there to support her. But really, really beautiful. So
wow.
I mean, it's just, I'm excited for you to be in this space. And
does she do the walk barefoot?
Oh yeah. It 100%. It's all grounded, and she has various ceremonial tools that she's taking with her in a little pot. It was like, if I recall correctly, it was like a little copper pot or something like that holds a little bit of water, and there's a whole, I'm never going to do it justice, but it was.
And she's First Nations.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty special.
Yeah. So I would highly encourage you, as you spend time here, like drop into that, because this is a special place.
Well, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it's very difficult for me to drop in and disconnect, because I'm so connected, work. And I need to, it's yesterday, just even the other day, it was a nice little moment where I was like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we forget that our journey has taken us exactly where we are right now, where we wanted to be. There's a quote, there's a podcast from Jay Shetty and Mel Robbins, and it's not exact verbatim, but he says that we easily forget that we are currently living the life that we wanted 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he said not every part, but certainly a component of it. You're living that life that you've dreamt of 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, ugh, wow.
reminded often of my own version of that quote, and maybe it came from Jay Shetty or wherever it came from, that a previous version of myself prayed for the problems I experience today. Right?
Say that one more time.
So a previous version of myself prayed for the problems that I experience today.
Now, for anyone that's listening right now and watching, why would anyone want to attract problems? Right? You're going to have to quantify that.
Sure. I think we're very perspective beings. I don't know light without knowing dark. I, don't know high without knowing low. And so to think about praying for problems also means that in order to experience the problem, I must have had experienced the antithesis of the problem, the duality of the problem, in order to experience the problem. And so gratitude in suffering can come from the understanding that in order to know this, I must have known something else, because I can't know one thing singularly. I can't know one energetic polarity on its own. It can't just be suffering. There must be something on the other side. Whether I've gotten there in the past or I'm on my way there,
Yep.
I can take some comfort in saying, I prayed for some version of a future that I'm now experiencing in my current reality, and I may be experiencing the high of it, I may be experiencing the low of it, but in the kind of broader picture of, just my belief about how energy works and just how life works, that there is a brighter sky coming. And so I prayed for this, right? I prayed for this life. Are you willing to be with it when it arrives, right? Are you able to really take the time and be like, yes, the previous version of myself was earnest about creating this life? And perhaps that might be a sobering thought too, because maybe the reality you're experiencing now was built from a former self that maybe was doing his best, but wanted different things. And now the current version of you is living in the reality that the former version created.
So give me an example, or give the listenership an example on how they could possibly find a relatable scenario.
So I'll speak from my personal experience.
Okay.
I spent about 13 years in corporate America, and I built a life that I thought served me. The business card, the title, wearing a suit every single day, flying around all kinds of places, and, living that life.
Okay.
And when I got to the end of that path, or maybe not the end.
What about even at the beginning or midway through? Did you think you had it all, or did you?
Yes.
Were you satisfied, or?
Satisfied's a big word.
Okay.
But I thought that I was on the path.
Surface level happy.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think at that stage in my life, I laugh at the awareness paradox, in that the more you know, the more you know, right? And so at that point, I knew what I knew then. And I would have said and thought at that moment that, Brendan, I've made it. Like, I've got the thing, I've built the life. And as my awareness increased, and as I discovered that life was not the thing that I wanted, and that it wasn't serving me in the way that I had wanted, I gained the awareness to realize that this former version of myself that had prayed for the car, the business card, the corporate life, that I can love him, but that part needed to evolve and pray for something different.
When did you get to that realization? What happened?
For me, it was a moment of complete emotional, physical, spiritual breakdown, and that was compounding through, from a health perspective. Obviously, you and I would know well that it sounds commonplace now, and I speak on it simplistically now, simply now, but a former version of myself wouldn't have recognized that, having 3 or 4 beers a day and eating airport food and sleeping in a hotel and, constantly be inundated with stress and, living with just a certain aggressive energy constantly, that was destroying me. right? And that wasn't obvious to me at the time. It was like, that's what you do. This is the life that I wanted. I wanted to go to a hockey game every night, and I wanted to entertain clients, and I wanted to go to the nice restaurants and, have the expense card and all of these things. But from a lifestyle and habits that I was, obviously playing out at that moment in my life, it was destroying me physically. And then, my mental health followed, and ultimately my spiritual health just degraded to the point where, I was brought to a very low moment in life that said, hey, you need to do something different.
Okay, so for all the men that are listening, how old were you at that time?
That would have been in my late 20s, early 30s.
Okay, so for the men that are living that life right now, doing the games, doing the boys' nights, drinking the beers, right? Travel, the corporate game. Listen, there's going to be some valuable lessons, I think. I'm sure there will be. So just pay attention, because I'm sure you can find some commonalities that Zack is going to be sharing, some golden nuggets. So keep on going. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes they're not like, when you're in it, whatever life that you're doing, it's very difficult to recognize some of the things that you're doing aren't necessarily moving one forward. There's definitely an intuitive whisper, but we tend to silence that, right? We sweep it under the rug.
In my experience, God whispers until he yells, until he doesn't whisper anymore, right? And I think that's a lot of our experience. And I wish that didn't have to be a part of the human experience, that you don't have to wait for catastrophic loss or major health complications or, some scary accident or something to happen in order for us to have this kind of shock of a wake-up call to be like, hey, smarten up, right? Or here's a piece of awareness to show you that your life isn't serving you. But it's God whispering over a long period of time when you really look back on it. When I look back at it now, there were all kinds of little markers and little whispers that I actively chose to ignore.
Yep.
In service of myself, in service of selfish pursuit, and in terms of, just the way that I was thought that I had my shit together, and thought that I was sort of the master of my own destiny. I still believe that to an extent, but just in a different way, right? And so I think, really well said that those whispers, and we ignore them.
They're either red flags or they're physiological expressions of symptomatology. Whatever they are little whispers. They are little signs to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But most of us, we do dismiss them and ignore them.
You would know very well, like from a health perspective, and as you talk to people about things like gut health, the amount of people that walk around thinking that symptoms of leaky gut, IBS, gas, inflammation, just states of chronic unwellness are so commonplace, and I just wake up, well, I always feel this way. That's just how I feel. There's no understanding that there could be better until you get a glimpse of it, or maybe until you hit a bit like some fire alarm gets pulled.
So is that's when God screams?
In a way, sure. Yeah. God uses the physical body, right, to say, hey man, you got to do something different with your life.
Yeah.
And it would be my hope that we don't have to always pull the fire alarm to learn those lessons, and that people do take a moment, and the resources, the amount of resources we have available to us today to, see that there are other options and see that there's a better version of ourselves. But unfortunately, we're stubborn humans.
Was the fire alarm tripped for you?
Yeah.
So what was that moment? You said like mind, body, soul, everything, but can you take us back to, was there a specific tipping point?
There were many things in that period of life that were very, very sharp wake-up calls. But for me, the things like stress manifested in what I would consider to be high-functioning anxiety. So sitting here, you and I would have a conversation like nothing's happening, and inside, I felt like I was dying, right? And so I went years of my life never being fully present, feeling like I was dying, and I would be on the road for weeks at a time, a week at a time, and I'd come home and I'd literally leave an airport and head straight to a hospital and check in and say, I think I'm dying, what's wrong with me? And at that point, the doctor would just say, "Oh, you look healthy enough, right? You're a young man. You'll kind of figure this out." And maybe if there was a point, I met with after having done all the tests, and they're, well, your heart's healthy and the rest of it's healthy and whatever. Like, I don't know.
So, but was it just the anxiety that brought you to the hospital?
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
You just couldn't figure out what that sensation was.
I just couldn't figure out what that sensation was. And I mean, it would show up in all kinds of ways. It was, my heart felt like it was going through my chest. My gut was an absolute wreck. I was carrying 30 pounds more than I am today, of just pure inflammation and, diet and all the associated things.
Right.
But there was this moment for me where, after exhausted all these options, the doctor basically said, look, here's a pill bottle. If you feel this way, pop a couple of these and you won't feel that way. And when you need a refill, come on back. And I think that was a moment for me in terms of a rock bottom, where I remember leaving that office and sitting in my car and just tears, right? Tears streaming down my face, going like, that is not a solution. That can't be the solution to what I'm experiencing right now. And that really kind of was the springboard, moving forward, to say I need to do something different with my life, and I need to take control over this, because to this day I've never opened that pill bottle.
You know
right?
what? As I'm listening, I'm reminded of the movie The Matrix with Morpheus, red pill, blue pill, and that doctor is essentially the anti-Morpheus of plugging into the Matrix.
Yeah.
Right? You take that prescription, you're in.
Yeah.
Like hook, line, and sinker. You are now really deep into the Matrix.
Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, that is what our allopathic medical system prescribes.
Yeah.
And it is a Band-Aid solution to move people through, through the medical system with underlying conditions that the allopathic system is not built to solve. And it is certainly a passion of mine now to try to tell my story in a way that shares with people that there are other paths and other avenues, and that, we can, don't get me wrong, if I get in a car crash, I want an emergency room waiting for me, right? But, short of that, are there other ways that we can look at health, and can we invest in our own personal well-being, and get back to, what a healthy, happy human we are designed to be, right? And that's been a huge, kind of passion of mine.
Well, and you said God whispers, and then God will eventually start yelling at you. And again, same thing with that anti-Morpheus. If you take that prescription for something that's chronic, right, that's another way for you to just silence God's language, right, and speaking and whispering and eventually yelling to you.
Yeah.
That's just another thing to just silence the signs, the whispering.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting. Okay, so you decided not to, and you tried to explore there's got to be other ways. What did you start to explore?
The stuff that now would be the most obvious thing to you and I, but at the time felt really far-fetched. It was what I was putting in my body, what I was eating. Like I said earlier, it turns out that when you have 3 to 4 beers a day, it's not good for you. Like, it doesn't do good things for your body to be able to recover. And living in a state of chronic inflammation, chronic stress, not using some very, very simple tools, like being conscious about what you are putting in your body, like taking a moment of reflection. And at that moment, it was like very early stages of me learning just simple modalities of breathwork and meditation. That was something that I never connected with, that I thought was so woo-woo and crazy and was so far-fetched. And now I look at that and see how that is integrated in my daily life, and it seems so obvious to me, but it felt really far away at that point. Those things felt really like a big stretch.
So talk to the guy right now that drinks 4 beers a day, that's living that life, and he hears the whispers, but he's still ignoring.
I think this comes down to a connection of the things that are serving you, connecting them to some bigger purpose. What is that bigger purpose for you as an individual in your life? If you show up, if you've had the 3 or 4 beers, and for me, I'm a young dad. If I show up and I don't have energy to play with my kids when I get home, and you notice that you're dragging your feet because of it, and you can't spend time with your kids, there's just a little signal to be like, hey, an awareness point. Can I pull myself out of that for this purpose, right? And connecting to those different hats that's different for everybody, but like
Sure.
find those things in your life that said, oh, I want to be healthier. I want to live differently because, and if it's simply just that you want to wake up feeling a little bit better and not be a little hungover and a little cranky and a little bit of an asshole with the people in your life and whatever, like maybe that's just a simple baseline, or maybe you're not happy. How many of us walk around and happiness is something that is just fleeting, and you feel as an individual like, man, I'm just not happy today. Take a moment and realize that is an interconnected signal. That is a whisper to say that things are out of alignment. Do you need to flip tables and 180 your career and, go somehow crazy on a diet and a workout program? No, not right now. Like, let's just take one little step forward, right? Yep. Today, can we take a deeper breath than we took yesterday? Can we eat something that's a little bit better than we ate yesterday? Can we make small conscious choices over a period of time that are in alignment with some type of greater purpose or an identity that we have in life?
Yep.
Align that to a greater why, and then take one small little step at a time.
Well, and your kids, they didn't sign up for a dad that's had 4 beers in, who's maybe a little bit tired and a little bit short-tempered for his own reasons. They didn't sign up for that. They don't deserve that.
Yeah.
Although they might make you want to pull your hair out at times and be angry, of course, but they didn't sign up for an under-delivered best version of yourself.
Whoa.
They signed up for the best version of dad as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
So if that guy that's drinking the 4 beers or 3 beers and just doing that steady state sort of baseline lifestyle, and you just said it perfectly, there's purpose. There's so much more available. And that's a daunting, tough pill to swallow sometimes. Again, it's hard when you're in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you decided to simplify things. You decided to just take even deeper breaths.
Yeah.
What influenced you to even just have that awareness, and then what stemmed from that?
So the breathwork thing in particular was almost kind of happenstance and sort of hilarious that I believe it might have been on the Joe Rogan podcast that I had heard. No, Laird Hamilton. Do you know Laird Hamilton? Big wave surfer.
I'm sure, yes.
You know the name.
Yeah.
What he's kind of a social media guy or whatever, but very famous big wave surfer.
Is that the guy that does the underwater training?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've
So
seen
he's
him.
got a whole thing now about doing all that. Yeah. And I had listened to his podcast or him on some sort of random podcast, and he was talking about using Wim Hof breath. I thought, that's interesting. And he was talking about how he trains all these surfers to dive underwater for really long periods of time, and they're using this thing called Wim Hof. And I remember YouTubing Wim Hof and just seeing this wild, what is he, like Russian or Ukrainian or wherever he comes from, or Polish or something like that. Just this wild human. And he had these crazy YouTube videos of doing, breath work. And I thought, this guy is out to lunch. Like, he's nuts. But it was one of those moments where a whisper hit as I heard this concept, and I heard them talking about breath in that way. And it nagged at me. And it nagged at me for a while because, again, for me, stress manifested in my chest. It manifested in my inability to take a full breath for years, Brennan, that I would wake up in the morning and be like, is today the day that I get to take a full, deep, inhale, right? And so it was, I was in Portugal at the time on a vacation, and I had sort of earmarked this Wim Hof breathwork video on YouTube, and it was back in the day when he was like filming it on his cell phone camera probably or something like that in his living room. And I had some time to kill in our little apartment in Portugal, and I laid down on the kitchen floor. Wasn't a big place, little like one room kind of thing. And I laid down with a pillow on the kitchen floor, and I turned this YouTube video on and stuck it beside my ear. And it catapulted me into what you'd well know as just that hyper oxygenated.
Do you remember which video it was?
Not a clue. I'll have.
If you can find it, let's embed it, and we'll put a link here somewhere. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to dig it up. Okay. It was an early. We're talking about like probably 2016 or something like that.
How long of a session was it?
It was your typical Wim Hof thing, right? So it was like 3 or 4 rounds of, maybe about 5 minutes each or something like that. So 15, 20 minutes. Okay. And, just had this wild experience.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear what happened.
Of being rocked by my own breath and the amount of emotional release that came from that. And this ability, left me a blubbering, teary mess on the floor of this kitchenette. Having felt for the first time in years that I had control over my breath, that I had control over my life, that I was present, that I could take a deep breath.
So you had a full-on release, emotional, crying afterwards.
Emotional, physical release that just brought me to a small glimpse of what was possible. And it's the drowning man only wants one thing. He wants a breath of fresh air, right? And for me, that was that moment. It was the drowning man. And literally all I wanted was a breath of fresh air. I just wanted to breathe. And hear this random crazy guy on YouTube on the floor of an apartment in Portugal is ushering this in. And I'm doing it I'm able to do it,
yep.
And so that was just a bit of a light bulb moment for me. And that led me down a path where breathwork was a really integral part of my healing journey and, still is a great and an amazing tool in the way that I, kind of drop in and center myself at any given time. And, so that was one of many modalities and maybe the most impactful at the time because of the way stress was manifesting for me and because of the way that I was, just desperate for that moment of presence.
So cool. I can relate to that because I've done breathwork sessions and had, oh my God, some of the most monumental physical, emotional releases. But it's work. You got to get into that. Mm-hmm. And typically for those that are familiar with breathwork, sometimes there's 3 or 4 or 5 cycles of whatever. Mm-hmm. And I find in my experience, 1 round or 2 rounds, 3 rounds, it's tough. It's work. You're working. And you got to keep on big breath, right? And then once in that maybe 4th or 5th round, it's just holy shit. I remember I did 1 elementals.
Yeah.
Geo.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't remember what it was called. I did it in Costa Rica at a retreat. Lisa was the guide. And I think let's just say it was 5 rounds. And afterwards, everyone was done. That's when I had my big release. And I literally, I got to experience my 40-year-old self break down, all the way to birth. And then in utero. And then from in utero, a rebirth. Like I saw my toddler self, child self. And then I was literally laughing with giddy laughter like a little child for almost, 20 minutes by myself. Just this youthful, happy little boy laughing at this realization like, holy shit, like, wow, what a fun game life is.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a tool that we all possess, and we all, in this conversation, we've taken hundreds of breaths, and we have the opportunity thousands, tens of thousands of times a day to have a small moment of awareness, to check in as a barometer. And that tool is available to us
for free
all the time. It's simple. We talked early on about, simplicity. Yeah. It's simple. It's free. It's accessible. It's an amazing barometer to show you where you're at. If the breath is elevated, you might be elevated. Just listen to that. Just take a second. If you're chilling and you're good and you're taking nice big breaths, deep belly breaths, if you breathe way up in your chest, if your digestion is off, you would know this well. If your digestion is off, the breath is going to tell you about that. You're not going to be able to, breathe into your diaphragm and expand your belly, right? What a tool. And it's free. Yes.
Well, and so how many movies have we all seen with the drug dealers, and they always say, don't get high on your own supply, right? And after I've done breath work, I was like, holy shit, that's another part of the matrix. The matrix is teaching us and conditioning us not to get high on our own supply. So we think that they mean drugs. No, they mean don't get high on breath, because if you get high on breath, you're going to start to evolve. You're going to elevate your consciousness, your vibration, right? Because people that do breath work, they're a little bit more lighter beings. They're a little bit happier. They've got a little bit more emotional regulation, typically, right?
This is hitting on something that's like deeply systemic, and it's something I believe really fully. And as you kind of take small steps outside the matrix, if you will, right, you very quickly realize that there is a system of incentives to keep us in a certain state of unwell, and it keeps us there really well, right? Yep. Because it can't kill us, right? To kill us would be to lose a customer, and that's not good business. So we have to stay alive. You know, we got to keep Brendan and Zach just kind of ticking along.
Yep.
But we want to keep them just a little bit unwell, just a little bit sleepy, just a little bit hungry, you know. And when you take a very small step to regain some of your power and some of your control in the realm of your health and who you are very quickly met with the realization that that system is incentivized to keep you oppressed. And it does not have to come at the price tag of some fancy wellness devices or, you know, retreats to Costa Rica or, you know, plant medicine or anything crazy. It is breath for free, water for free, nature for free, you know, just spending a minute with your eyes closed for free, right? These are very, very simple tools that are all readily available to us every single moment of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's the trips to Costa Rica or the plant medicine, those types of things, they can be the catalyst for someone who's just been so plugged in and has no idea, right? They're just maybe decided they've had an invitation and they go, right? So it's these types of things. I'm sure you can vouch for this. Is there's a whole array of individuals that go to these types of things, breathwork ceremonies, places like Othership, right? Cold and hot. A lot of first timers going to plant medicine. And then there's individuals they've been doing it for a little while, but it's a wonderful, it's God's sign saying this is what is possible. And, you know, you can use plant medicine, but just use it only a little bit, sparingly.
Yeah.
Because you can still apply this and you can still attain the same results for free on your own if you just go back to the basics.
Yeah. I have nothing against peak experiences, and there are a lot of really accessible. It's so cool to see the other ships of the world rise and all these really accessible modalities that are bringing wellness culture to pop culture, right? And making it really, really accessible and making consumer products that all usher in these peak experiences for us and that we can, readily access. My big thing is always like, how are we integrating?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure. Go to Othership. I'm a big fan, right? Jump in the hot, jump in the cold. There is no way it won't be a peak experience for you. You cannot sit in a 3-degree ice bath and not experience something. Never met a single soul in their life that said, whatever, didn't really feel anything. No, you froze your ass off. Like, and if that's all it is, but then where are we integrating, right? How are you bringing that back into your daily life? How are you making the very small steps on a daily basis over a long period of time? It's the compounding interest of health.
Yep.
That's what I want people to invest in. It's the compounding interest of health. How can we invest in these things, $1 a day, metaphorically, $1 a day into our bank of health, that then when we check on our savings account in 2 years from now, we're like, whoa, there it is. There's my interest. There's my return, right?
Yeah, but we haven't been taught that. We haven't been taught that on a monetarily level in schooling. We don't get taught what compound interest is. Teachers hint at it, but they don't use real life analogies. Hey, you can use this for your health, right? So it's people they don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so those peak moments and then the integration, and I was saying those peak moments, that's the easiest way to feel human. Because how many people are not even feeling human?
Mm-hmm.
They're just running. They're their TikTok lives of status quo, but they're not feeling human. So what are some other things that you like to help feel human, for example, or for the integration of some of those catalyzing moments?
I mean, we talked a little bit of this on the panel at the Longevity Summit around, I think all the panelists agreed that probably the king was sleep. Using sleep as a very simple tool, just regulating your circadian rhythm to get back to a version of yourself that doesn't wake up tired. And then when you wake up tired, you reach for caffeine. And once the caffeine dumps, then you reach for a bit of sugar. And then, we're just on this.
Keep on listening to that, because that's a very common, common lifestyle.
For sure.
You wake up tired, you go for the caffeine. Once that crash hits, then you go for the sugar. And you're unconscious. Mm-hmm. Usually, oh, fuck, I need that bagel or that croissant or that Danish or that third coffee.
Yeah.
Extra sugar in it. Oh, I'll do non-sweetener pumps of fucking bullshit, But they reach for that.
Sure.
Okay.
And there are lots of consumer-ready products that will make you feel good about that process.
Yeah.
That's the scary thing, right? It's when you walk into Starbucks, you feel like there's a healthy alternative in the form of the little dessert that claimed it was high protein.
They just make you feel they make you think you feel good just by default. Yeah, just by walking in the doors.
Absolutely. And it's by design. They know that if they keep you sugared up for a second or with your coffee, you will come back for a pastry. Right. And that's just in a very small microcosm of the coffee shop. And whatever. I'm not saying don't enjoy a pastry and a coffee if you want, but like be aware of how
you know what? No, hold on. I'm going to stop you. If you have health complaints, if you have physical complaints, if you are not satisfied with your life, like if you're complaining, I don't think a coffee and a Danish is a wise strategy.
Fair.
There are bigger fish to fry.
Yep.
But those little micro moments, we were just talking about the compound interest, those little micro moments will continuously have a negative impact, and they'll continue to allow you to nurture yourself to complain about the things that you're unhappy with.
Fair.
So you have earned your Danish and coffee periodically because you've mastered and you're applying some of the simple strategies that you can do on a daily basis to help you staying in the movement forward of good health.
Yep.
I'm being firm on you guys right now because I wholeheartedly agree with that. But we've been conditioned, a coffee and a Danish, it's not going to kill you. But every single day, right, doing those little decisions, that's where the problem is. So I agree with you, but at the same time, if you're complaining, if you're not happy, you haven't deserved the coffee and the Danish. I'm sorry, I'm saying it.
I'm with you. There's a whole other side of this. So, we've kind of been on this compassionate trail of just the person that, wants to put one foot in front of the other and just kind of, take the next breath and the simple things and, whatever. But I am firmly and absolutely with you. Your health is your responsibility. Full stop. And do not come complaining to the world, to our system, to yourself, to your family, to the way that your life is going if you are not willing to take daily accountability for your health to be that better version and to make the small choices that may seem hard to avoid Starbucks this morning, but that is the stuff that is fully within your control. And I'm right with you in the firm approach to say, I'm sorry. If you are going to walk around and complain that you didn't get in bathing suit shape this summer, right? Oh, September is hit. We're filming in September here. Like September's hit. I didn't really hit that goal. Well, go back. How many patio nights did you spend out, right? How many Uber Eats orders did you place? How many times did you say, tomorrow, right? And there is an absolute point of accountability that needs to be had around our state of health. And this is not just for the bikini body. This is because close to 50% of our population has an underlying chronic disease, right? Because we have children that have a makeup or a concentration of their diet that's 50% ultra processed foods, right? That our grocery stores are inundating us with junk that is not real, that our world is dumping us with dopamine that is not real. All of these things work against us to to destroy our long-term health outlook and our health span, right? And so you cannot possibly look a crisis in the face and then go about your life complaining and not being willing to take ownership about it, right? Yeah, your diabetes is going to rock you, right? Take ownership of it, right? You know, you're concerned about hypertension, you're concerned about weight, you're concerned about, you know, the list of autoimmune conditions that you're ignoring in your life. Take ownership.
God's whispering.
God's whispering. And maybe not even whispering at that point.
Now, at that point,
if you're talking about autoimmune and you're talking about like those kind of 4 horsemen of chronic disease, God's not whispering anymore. No. That is real stuff. And we are shortening our lifespan because of it.
Yeah. And this is a wake-up call, right? We're having a nice conversation and it's pleasant. And as you just mentioned, right, there's so many beautiful things about just applying the simple things of life. But if you're not, then there are monumental consequences. And those monumental consequences take a lifelong time to develop, right? So I know if you are diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, typically it takes 7 years from first sign and symptom. From that, you've got multiple doctor's visits, maybe some tests. Doc, you know, I just don't really feel that great. Okay, well, whatever. Or, yeah, you know what? Let's do some blood work. Doc comes back. Yeah, your blood work is here. Hematocrit's maybe a little bit high. Your iron maybe is a little bit high. Vitamin D is a little bit low, but you're still within range. We'll see you in 6 months or a year from now, and we'll just retest. Eat healthier.
Yeah.
But that's it. But just because someone has a low range or a high range does not mean that it's normal. Doctors will say that, but there's a whisper, right? So those moments, those doctor's office appointments, and then you can maybe go see a different doctor, or maybe just start taking some over-the-counter drugs, right? But it takes 7 years. And then when you finally do see a specialist, or you get the requisition to do see the specialist, and then you finally do the testing, and then you finally get the results, and then the results finally go back to your doctor, and all of that time, it usually takes 7 years. And by the time someone is actually diagnosed with that autoimmune condition, guess what else has just happened? Another one's creeping up on the door to express itself.
Yeah.
So the system is beautifully designed for the broken system to keep on nurturing the medications and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and the compounding effects of health work both ways, right? Like as much as you can gain interest from investing in, just using a financial example, investing in a savings account, you can also bear the weight of negative interest if you spend money on a credit card.
Sure.
Right? And so as that 7 years is progressing and you are ignoring these whispers, you are also accruing the interest of, you know, spending on this credit card, you know, the funds that you don't have in your health account, right?
Yeah.
And I was reminded too, as you were sharing, I had done a podcast with Dr. Shalini Bhatt, and she's a functional medicine doctor, and she had reminded me that when we look at baseline blood work and your GP says, oh, your levels are all within kind of acceptable range, the baseline that they are measuring to is not my friend Brendan Coates here, you know, whose blood work looks like pure gold. You know, it is from a pool of sick people. And so your baseline, you are being compared to your neighbor that smokes and drinks and, you know, eats McDonald's 3 times a day. And your GP goes, yeah, that looks about right. You know, you're all kind of in about, you know, okay, right? Aside from, you know, maybe some really extreme markers. Sure. And so I've said this many times that to be adjusted to a maladjusted state is no adjustment at all. It's no life at all, right? We can't just say, well, I've adjusted really well to not being well, so I'm well. That doesn't make any sense, right? But that is what the system would much rather us believe.
That's perfect for, totally off topic, but not really, for someone that's been prescribed SSRIs, right? Serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Why am I missing the second S? Anyways, all they're doing is just giving you a baseline of shittiness. It's just preventing you from getting deeper and deeper into a state of shittiness, right? So that's that same thing. Oh, it's going to make me feel better. No, it's not. It's just going to prevent you from feeling worse, but you're already at that low state. So why are you there in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have a SSRI deficiency. where so many people have been convinced that with drugs. So I just wanted to say that. Okay, let's talk about you now, and especially with some of the stuff that we covered with what you're doing now, how you got out of big corporate, and what are you doing now? Because it's a lot more simple. Maybe on the business side of things, there's a lot of logistics, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, today I'm building Northern Raised, which is a company whose mission is to connect people with their personal well-being through the food on their plate, right? And the way that we do that is by delivering really high-quality protein from local farms, and we deliver that right to people's front door. And so that's been my mission and my passion to build. That was the thing that pulled me out of corporate life. You know, when I got on that path of investing in my health, I became almost borderline obsessive, but just very curious about where my food was coming from, wanting to have a better connection with really good quality food for myself, for my family. And I found this real gap. I found this kind of disingenuous or disheartening experience of walking through the aisles of a grocery store going like, I'm not sure about all this, you know, and nobody's really telling me where this is coming from. And, you know, there's all kinds of things, especially when it comes to meat and meat consumption, right? There's a lot of big kind of red flags that I was seeing. And, you know, I was looking at my options and I thought, well, I can't go to a farmer's market every week. It just, for my life, it wasn't completely feasible. And so what else is there, right? And so that was kind of an opportunity for me to not only was consuming that food making massive impacts on my personal health, you know, I think that moment of seeing something impactful and then just wanting to share it, wanting to take ownership in that process, wanting to insert myself as an active participant in my food chain, in my supply chain, in the economy of health, right? And you know, put some skin in the game along with that ownership. For me, that ownership came not only personally but externally. How do I help people take ownership of this along the way? And so building Northern Raised has been sort of the answer to that mission and what we're trying to do in terms of say, hey, you can be connected to the source of your food. Let us help you with that. Let us bring transparency, connection, conscious consumption back to the grocery experience, or, you know, when it hits your kitchen and the food on your plate, you know, I want people to be deeply connected and invested in that.
It's funny. When people go to a grocery store, it's like we're being told essentially what to buy and what to get. There's no question, right? I'm sure the listenership and the viewership have had wonderful experiences at maybe mom and pop stores, whatever the stores are, right? And you get to learn a bit from the developer or the owner, whatever the product is. And you had a real nice experience and you're leaving the place with either your product or service and you feel educated and empowered and you're probably going to want to go back. There's none of that at a big box grocery store, right? Aside from, excuse me, where can I find this? Yeah, aisle 9 or whatever, right? But there's no education. There's no, this came from that farm, or this came from that agricultural system. There's none of that. So we are literally just being told what to eat without any question.
Yeah.
And so you're bridging that gap, right? And how are you doing that? How are you having those conversations with the sources, the farmers, and things like that? And then how are you educating your consumer?
Yeah, for us, from a sourcing perspective and just how we look at food, right, we ask ourselves 4 main questions and sort of the 4 tenets of our business, right? And so we ask the 4 questions of, is it natural? Is it sustainable? Is it ethical? And is it local? Right? And the quick breakdown of all those is, you know, obviously from an ethical perspective, are we treating animals in a in a way that honors life, you know, and the treatment of animals just needs to be at the forefront of everything that we do, right? These are, you know, albeit sentient beings, if you want to get crazy with it, but this is life that we're dealing with, and so there needs to be reverence and respect for that life. You know, from a locality perspective, that's an easy one, right? Can you draw a circle on a map of your neighborhood and where you live, and can you pick out where your food is coming from, right? And that circle should be relatively small, and you should have some transparency to that process, right? From a sustainability perspective, that's a really big kind of pool that we could dive into, but you know, the simplicity of it is, are we dealing with food producers who see their food system as a system made up of systems that all interconnect and intertwine together in a regenerative way, right? So the cow poops on the field and the chickens come and eat that, and that feeds the soil, and round the circle we go, right? And so we're looking for farmers who are really invested in regenerative practices. And then from a natural perspective, we're asking the question of, are these animals being fed species-specific diets, raised in species-specific environments that obviously then contribute to the health of the animal, right? And so we think about those 4 questions as a way to vet the people that we work with and supply us. And then I ask those questions of the consumer, right? You don't believe me, right? I am not the next grocery store. I want to be so clear about this, along with taking accountability, with your health. Keep your suppliers accountable to where like their practices as well. And so I'm not asking anybody to replicate the grocery experience by just simply believing me because you and I sit here on a podcast and I can talk about it. It's like, I'm asking you to ask yourself those questions. Is my food natural? Is it sustainable? Is it local? And is it ethical? Right. And really, really think that through on all levels, not just your meat, but anything that you consume. Ask yourself some very simple baseline questions. And so that's how we're trying to kind of educate the consumer that way.
Why would anyone want to ask those questions? Obviously, I think it's going to tie into purpose, of course, but it's still like, why would someone want to ask that?
We have a system that would much rather us a little bit sick, a little bit tired, a little bit hungry. And if any of that resonates with you as an individual, that is why you need to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you want to be a little bit sick, a little bit tired,
right,
a little bit short-tempered,
yep,
a little bit functioning not at 100%?
Yeah.
Do you want that? If you want that, then by all means. I certainly don't.
Mm-hmm. It's a whisper. Like going back to it's a whisper. It is a little nudge, asking that question to be like, yeah, I don't really feel great when I eat this, ultra processed food. And gosh, like the grocery store is chock full of ultra processed foods, right? And so when we have a diet, I harp on this from the child perspective because I have 2 boys. I think it is a staggering stat that 50% of, or close to 50% of the average North American child's diet comes from ultra processed food.
Yeah.
It is not real food, right? And so you as an adult know what it feels like to, and they're just little. They don't have that awareness, and we see it show up now in a generation of behavioral issues and gut issues and, hormonal issues and all these things, right? So this is endemic. This is a crisis of health that we are readily perpetrating to our children in the name of convenience. Well, I didn't have time to, cook tonight, so here, right?
Their cute little bodies are so sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think, let's just entertain our imagination and curiosity here. Do you think that your child's behavior is somewhat related? It's 11:11. That's my my thing.
The magic alarm is going off.
But hold that.
Yeah. Just honoring the magic with. I love that.
11:11. That's my my affirmation for that is, I'm a genius. I apply my wisdom. Everything I read or retain. I have a photographic and autographic memory. I'm always at the right place at the right time to meet the right people to make the right deals.
Ooh.
That's one of Trump's affirmations at the end. Right place, right deal, right people.
Okay.
And then the other one is one of Dr. John DeMartini's affirmations. So I integrated them both.
I love that.
Yeah. But is there a possibility that your child's behavior, their acting up, their poor grades, their temper tantrums, is there a possibility that it is there a direct relationship to the foods that they're eating? Let's just think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Can you? Right? Just think about it. And if this is sparking some curiosity, give yourself a fun little test for 30 or 60 days, just for fun. See if you can train your child to avoid eating the boxed cereal and the processed foods just for even 30 days and just see.
Well, this is maybe I'll have my moment of being, bold and saying this a little bit differently. Training your child comes by leading from example. The child only has access to the food that is in the fridge, that is in the pantry.
Purchased by who?
Right?
Santa Claus?
Right. The child did not just up and, I don't know, maybe kids can use Uber Eats these days, but the child does not, a 5-year-old does not just have his own efficacy to walk through the grocery store and say, Mom, I want this, Dad, I want this. They sure as heck try.
Sure they do.
Right? And my children do too. They see the cereal aisle and you see their eyes light up. And for the parents out there, if that's not a wake-up call as to how food is being marketed to your children, turn on Saturday morning cartoons for 10 minutes and see what is being advertised to your children when it comes to the food that they're consuming and how it's being advertised, right? That is criminal at the level in which we incentivize consumption of ultra-processed foods for kids. And by the way, it is not 30 days. It's 2 days. Children are a mirror. They are this flexible, my kid could be vomiting his guts out one night and wake up the next morning like nothing happened, right? They are malleable. They are adaptable. They are flexible, and they're like just little regenerative motors.
Sure.
This does not take for what you and I would take 30 days to reset our guts and do instill some new habits.
Yep.
That takes a child 24 hours, 48 hours to see massive behavioral changes. Every parent will attest to this when, you pack your kid full of sugar and it's like a ticking time bomb. It's almost like a running joke. It's like, watch this kid just like lose it in the next hour and a half and crash because of the sugar. They are little, just transparent lenses to this thing. And so, my moment of push here would just be like, that is on you, parents. And monkey see, monkey do. Your child is watching you. Your child is watching what you eat and what you consume and how you deal with that at home, and they only have access to what you put in front of them. 100%. Are they going to complain about the whatever eggs and oatmeal over cereal? Sure they are. Yeah, but like, hey,
let them feel what hunger feels like.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, sooner or later they'll be like, all right, I'll eat that. Mm-hmm. That's not bad parenting.
It's really not, because children are creatures of necessity. They will come back for food. Like, your child is not going to starve themselves. They will come back and say, Mom, I'm hungry. And then you say, well, I've got the apple and eggs waiting for you. Would you like to? Yeah, or make it fun. I'm not trying to be unrealistic about the parenting experience about a child eating. Make it fun. Bring the kids into the kitchen. We should be connecting them to how food is produced, how it's brought to the plate, how it's served. All these things, create fun around it for children. Get them to know their food. But to me, that is.
Well, you can say that because you're a dad.
Yes. Yeah, I'm speaking from experience here. Yeah. I should clarify. I'm speaking from experience here. I fight this fight every day to get my child to eat good and healthy food, but that is what they have access to in my house. And in the instances where I do allow treats and the fun food in the world, we talk about it. Right? My son readily knows. He's 5 years old, and if you walked into the grocery store and he sees the mountain of chips, he says, "Dad, that's junk food." He knows. Yeah. They are not. This is not something that is somehow out of reach for them to grasp.
Yeah. I was a little bit of a case study. I was working with a family in December, and the daughter had been hospitalized. She hadn't been to school for months and months because she was chronically constipated, like really, really bad. Had to go to McMaster. Doctors didn't know what to do, but like horrible constipation, skin, horrible headaches, joint pain, body pain. She's 8 years old. And so the family sought me out, and then we started working together, and I'm looking at just the food, and I'm like, oh my God, you're killing your daughter. But they don't know any better. So I said, we're going to have to do a full family intake. And what's so amazing about a child is, their bodies are so resilient if you give them the right foods. So we literally did my adult protocol to completely rehabilitate her digestion, but just smaller for a cute little 8-year-old.
Yeah. And
wouldn't you know, now she's a vibrant, healthy little kid. She's laughing. She's back at school. She has like 3 poops a day, and she gets enthusiastic and excited about it. And now the common joke is, would Brennan approve of this, right? Of this food and stuff. But it's just, that's so common for families.
Yeah.
Kids are not healthy right now, but it's so easy if you can just simplify the food. So much easier.
Big
Okay,
time.
so let's just expand. And so for the family, sorry, I don't know if that was like a shameless plug, but it wasn't. But it's just, there's easily light at the end of the tunnel for adults and children if you just simplify things.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about Northern Raised. What are you doing? There's a ton of excitement around your booth. I know that a few people I know personally signed up and enrolled, and they're getting meat now delivered to their homes, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So what's on the plate, pardon the pun, from Northern Raised, and what's in the future for you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think we look at we are a mission-driven business that is highly aligned to a personal experience that I've had and that many others, obviously share. And so as I look to the future, it's repetition on that. It's the growth of that. It's amplifying that voice that I think a lot of people sit at home and do want better. Like, I think this whisper is maybe louder than a whisper, and that people are good at hearing it. Like, there are not many conversations, if you and I were to sit down and interview 50 people, that would not all say, you know what, now that you mention, I would kind of like to feel a little bit better. When you do get people down on that level, most people recognize that as just something their body's asking for and their life is asking for. And so, for me, I humbly use my business, if you will, as just like that mission-driven kind of platform to say, here's an option, to add some convenience, to allow me to do a bit of the groundwork and the hard work of, finding the right sources for you.
Yep.
Let me bring the convenience of the home delivery aspect, just, so that I can be of help. And the thing that fires me up, man, and the passion I have is this. It's you and I sitting down and talking about this and putting this into conversation and helping to educate people and meeting people where they're at, at the Longevity Summit. It's like, come on by, talk to me. Let's have a human experience. I want to hear, about what it's like to sit in the kitchen and feel like that's an intimidating thing, or to have the 8-year-old that's suffering, and how I'm not a doctor, I'm not a gut health guy or anything, but it's like, I have my personal experience here, and I have a solution in the form of really good, high quality, single ingredient food that I think is maybe one of the most powerful medicines that we have to heal the body.
Yep.
And so, as I look at the horizon of Northern Raised and what we're doing, it's just really to continue to put one foot in front of the other in alignment with that mission to help connect people with their personal well-being through food.
So for those that don't know or still are a little bit confused, what is Northern Raised? Where's headquarters, and what do you offer your customers?
Yeah, so headquarters is in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Think of it as an online butcher shop or an online farmer's market. So you can go online, you can see the farms that you want to work with. You can select from a very, very wide range of all of the major, protein types, all of your grass-fed beef and pastured chicken and, fish and lamb and, you name it, we've got it on there. And then you can build a fully customized farm box and have that delivered right to your front door.
Amazing. And when consumers get their first order, what is the typical reaction? What is the feedback? What can they observe?
We hear so much silly little examples like, oh, I've never really liked chicken breast. It's rubbery, it's weird, it smells funny, it comes in those weird little diaper packs from the grocery. Like, I don't like touching chicken breast. And you hear just amazing feedback of like, whoa, like that was different. That was it was different. The taste was different. The stuff that I love to hear is my kids got really excited, or my family got excited that this box arrived at our door, and it was like this unboxing, and we actually got to talk about the food,
Yep.
And they got excited about it. We get people that share on Instagram when their kids like decorate the box and stuff like that. Like that.
Wow.
That's the stuff that's so exciting and fun for me to know that we played some very small role in showing up in somebody's kitchen. I mean, I think about, and this was really one of the origins to the business, was when I thought about all of the happiest moments of my life, so many of them revolved around food. and connecting people through food. It's a beautiful, beautiful connection tool. You go to any social event, everybody congregates around the food, congregates around the table, you know, sharing meals as family and friends. It's just such a beautiful bonding thing. And so that is such a spark for me. And when I hear those stories, and I think that's what I hope that people can get, is when they've had food delivered to their door and it becomes a bit of a ceremony, you know, it becomes a bit of an event to say, we're going to cook something tonight. You know, we're going to do this as a family. Here's what this is. It just, for me to know that that's happening in people's kitchens and that we're playing a small role in that really, it makes me incredibly happy. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing.
Amazing. Okay. 2 more points.
Yeah.
Your experience at Longevity Summit, obviously, I'm going to be biased or just enthusiastic to talk about it. What do you see in the future for Canadians and longevity and biohacking, and how is Northern Raised, and how are you contributing, and how are you seeing this unfold?
I think so much of the thought leadership around health and wellness typically comes from American sources, like from a media perspective that we get, whether through social media, through, you know, products and companies that are typically American. And I think that the States is leading a little bit more aggressively than we are in the way that they approach some of the thought leadership and the products and the services that are available for you know, the health and wellness space. And so I think it is so cool to have the Longevity Summit be that Canadian sort of springboard or container, right? That we are amplifying good Canadian voices, Canadian community around health, longevity. And so, yeah, I greatly commend you for putting on the event. I wholeheartedly believe that this is something that we need. We have some incredible resources. We have some incredible humans, some very smart, very talented people that know their stuff, right? And
on Canadian soil in our backyard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think, you know, we as a community need to amplify those voices, support these companies. Not only because the economy or that is certainly growing and booming and lots of cool things to take on there, but because if you as a consumer want more of this, you need to promote community, and you need to promote the ways that we're going to bring more of this to market, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I mean, our experience at the Longevity Summit was amazing, and it was so cool to, you know, speak on a panel with yourself and with some other really just phenomenal guests, people like Mary Gold and Gary LeBlanc, and you know, some of these just, you know, minds that speak so eloquently about this stuff. And so, yeah, I think I mean, if there's a sort of a compliment to pay, it's that I'm looking forward to next year, right? Like, you know, it's like we're doing it again.
And we want you to come back, and we want you, the viewership and the listenership. If you didn't come this year.
Yeah.
Well, in 2026.
Yeah.
Come. It's going to be good. Now, can we include in the show notes, do you offer any incentives through Northern Raised? Is there anything that this community can take advantage of, since we're here and having a conversation right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll have a Gut Gang code that I think we still have.
Let's call it Forks of Wisdom this time.
Forks of Wisdom, okay.
Or maybe Longevity. I don't know.
Sure.
You can figure it out.
We'll rebrand.
Yeah.
But 100% for the listeners, we've got different offers. The you know, anytime you go on the site, there's always you know, promotions happening. You know, we try to bring some sort of, you know, incentive to along with this, right? Like we want people to have no way of saying no to investing in their health.
Well,
right?
and here's the other incentive. It's your health.
Yeah.
And you're supporting local farmers and local business. So that's another nice incentive. Okay. To close off, this podcast is no longer the Gut Gang podcast. It is the Forks of Wisdom podcast, because here we are at Forks of Wisdom. Of course. How appropriate on Forks of Credit. And in life, and with all the different types of events that we are presented with, we are presented with a fork in the road. We either go in one decision or the other. So how would you like to close off this podcast if someone is faced with a particular fork in the road?
As it's on theme of where we began the conversation, honor the whispers. Listen to them before they come, the yells. Listen to the little whispers. And then believe in the act of putting one foot forward in front of the other. Over time, in alignment with some greater purpose in your life. Find what that is. Heavily invest in the process of knowing yourself to just get a glimpse and understand that you are just this beautifully created being that deserves to be well, that deserves to live a life of vitality and health and happiness. And if you, and apply that then. Apply whatever that version of that is for you. Mm-hmm. Apply that to something in your life, some hat that you wear, some identity that you carry, and then take a small piece of action in listening to those whispers and saying, hey, I think I can be a little bit better tomorrow than I am today. I think I can feel a little bit better tomorrow than I do today. And know that that compounds. Know that the work that you put in today compounds to tomorrow, and that in the daunting moments when it feels like we're not moving needles and you know the sky feels gray, we started at the beginning of the podcast like talking about that polarity, right? Know that because you're in this moment, there is a duality to this. There is another side. There is a better, brighter future, a better version of yourself that is so packed with life and so packed with passion and mm-hmm. energy and all the things that whatever that means to you, that there is a better version of you. And I would so highly encourage people to just feel into that and know that that version exists for them, and be willing to listen to the small whispers and take very small steps towards that.
Amazing.